Good morning, students. It's horribly raining out, so I figured this would be a good day to do a little bit of indoor art lesson with some music. We did this, a couple months ago. You remember we have a paper, we have some pencils and crayons and colors if your teacher hasn't and would like to use that for this lesson. And if you'll remember, I'll play a piece of classical music and we draw whatever it makes us think of, and color and all that too. And we want it to make sense. So if it's a really happy song and you're drawing some ghosts and some scary goblins or something like that, doesn't make a lot of sense. But happy song, you hear some, or you're drawing some rainbows and butterflies, it makes some sense. So make sure you listen to the music and listen to what it's trying to tell you, because these composers use different composition techniques. That means different writing techniques to make us feel different things. Music makes us feel feelings. So we're going to put our feelings, what we're feeling or what scenes, if it's like a movie in your head, down on the paper. So for this, you're going to need that paper, you're going to need a pencil, and maybe some colors if you want to add some color to your drawing. I'm going to hit play, and these songs are about 8 minutes apiece. So we're going to have about 8 minutes to draw. Listen to that music and draw whatever it makes you feel or think of, one or the other. And then I'll get on the piano and some other instruments and show you those composition techniques the composer used to make you feel or think certain things when we're listening to music. You guys ready? Here we go. Here's our first song. As soon as you hear the music begin, you can start your picture. Here we go. Love that song. That song is from it's from The Planets. It's from Gustav Holst, and he wrote a suite on all the different planets in the solar system, but he did it from the names they were given because they were named from Greek gods, or where the Romans took it, they changed the names, but Roman and Greek gods. And this one was Mars, and Mars is the god of war. So, probably channeling that a little bit, but I hear some instruments that we're going to get into in a second that makes you think of like knights and kings and stuff like that. So I ended up drawing like an evil looking knight, right? I mean, listen to see if I can find that end part. This sounds powerful and evil, and maybe a little knight-like because of the instruments that it's using. Right? We're going to get into why it sounds so powerful in using its instruments. We'll get to that. But why don't we switch over to the piano and find out why it sounds so scary and evil? Let's find out why it sounds so scary and evil. And if I mess up with the camera, I'm trying to play and hold this thing at the same time. Well, we have really loud and powerful. Loud, of course, will make you sound pretty scary or powerful. But in terms of making it sound scary and evil, we have lots of dissonance. Dissonance is when two notes don't sound good together. And usually, if they're right on top of each other, we call this a minor second. Ooh, it doesn't sound good. It's also what's called a tritone, where if you count up all these minor seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up, that's the most dissonant chord you can make. And watch, it gets worse. That's right up against there, another minor second. Ooh, that sounds evil. And it sounds scary, right? And if we put it together like the end where they did, it sounds particularly dissonant. Remember, dissonant is when two notes don't sound good together. The opposite is consonant, where they do sound. Ah, that sounds nice. Consonant, dissonant. And this song, Mars, Bringer of War, is nothing but dissonance in there. And there's another reason why it sounds so powerful, and that's our brass instruments. Our brass instruments are the ones, remember, we buzz our lips into to make a sound. So we got the trombone here. We have a baritone, or sorry, a trumpet here. I've got a baritone over there too. It just looks like a big giant trumpet or a very small tuba. So trumpet for our high voices. But the big winners in this one for making it sound scary and powerful are a low brass, like the trombone or the baritone. Why don't I just go grab it? The trombone, the baritone, and the tuba, which is like a big giant baritone, just like this. That's our lowest instrument. So we've heard. And it's from our low brass. Let's hear that. If you're a composer writing a song, you bring up the low brass when you want to have power and scariness in there. I mean, this thing can get loud and powerful. Same with the baritone right here, but it's kind of a softer version of it. We have And later on, we even have some trumpet fanfares that kind of make it sound a little regal. Trumpets like this. Actually, this is a cornet, but trumpets, cornets are the same. Cornets are just more compact, like this. Let's hear it and see if I can find it. So you can hear the trumpet. If I could play this trumpet well enough to do those little regal, I would for you. But trumpet, another power instrument, but it's the high brass instead of the low brass that we had earlier. But I think it's time to move on to a new song and make a new drawing. Well, why don't we go to our next song? We drew right here. I wonder if you drew something similar to me. I bet you did. It's kind of a scary and powerful song. But why don't we flip it over and we're going to do our next song on this page. Here we go. As soon as you hear the new music start, you can begin. It may be similar. It may be very different. So you don't need to make it look the same or the opposite of what you just drew. Here we go. Here's our next song. What'd you come up with? I came up with the king. You can see he's got his scepter, crown, and of course a throne in the back. This really reminded me of like royalty. And again, we're going to get into, well, we just did, but some of those brass instruments really make it sound powerful and regal. Regal being like it's royalty, or sometimes it reminds us of like medieval times and stuff like that. So if you thought it sounded pretty powerful again, just like the song before, or regal, I would agree with you. And if you didn't draw the same thing as me, that's totally fine. Everybody has different thoughts in their brains. This one is also from The Planets by Gustav Holst. This is Jupiter, though. And Jupiter is the king of the gods in the Greek and Roman pantheon. So I think this composer used those brass again to make it sound like royalty and regality. Let's switch over to the piano, see what the composer did, Gustav Holst. All right, so Holst wrote, well, there's a lot of melodies in the song, but the one everybody remembers is this. And that's in minor, and usually that means sad. But sometimes if you speed it up or do different things, you can make minor sound actually a lot of different things. And we saw that in the last one we were listening to the Spanish one. They sped up minor. It made it sound really cool. Same with this. It doesn't necessarily sound sad. But it's not necessarily happy either. It's not sunshine and roses. I'd say it's regal, especially when he uses the brass to play it. It sounds really neat. And we can tell it's in minor because, remember, major is all the white keys if we start on C. But minor flats the third, so we go down one. The sixth, and I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Flats the sixth and the seventh. So we get this instead. Here it is again. Let's see what would happen if I put it in major. It just doesn't sound right, even though it should be the happier key. Here it is again. Yeah, let's switch over back to our brass instruments and learn a little bit more. Hey guys, back to brass. We're going to talk about the French horn this time, because that melody I was just playing, the one that sounds like royalty, we called that word regal. It sounds really regal. Whenever a composer wants to write something regal, they usually break out the French horn, because this thing has a really different sound from the rest of the brass instruments. Still got all the power. It's got all the power, but it can also sound really, really pretty. It is one of the harder brass instruments. Here at Soulsbyville, I usually have people play on some kind of brass instrument for at least 2 years before they try and tackle this thing. And I play it about once every 3 years, so we'll see if I can play that melody we heard before. This one, it's that combination of the French horn and string instruments to give that regal sound. So let's hear what this thing sounds like. The French horn, the one you break out to, if you're going to write a song that sounds regal, royalty, kings and queens, that kind of stuff. Such a pretty instrument. Look at it. It looks a little funny. It's a wrapped tube. That's all it is. Wrap, 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 wrap. And then we have our valves like usual. These are rotor valves though. So when I open up the rotor valve, it adds this much pipe. Open up this one, adds this much pipe. this much, and it makes it lower. And that's our French horn. Regal, power, it's a cool instrument, and it's featured a lot in this song to make it sound like that. But hey, guys, we are out of time. I hope you had fun drawing and learning a little bit more about music, and I will see you next week, and have a good rest of your week.